Hey guys, it's Maxine and thank you so much for watching. So today's video is going to be a blonde balayage tutorial, and this is my client. She has naturally pretty light brown hair, and we're going to be freshening up this balayage and giving her nice blonde face frame. We want to keep a lot of the dimensions still in this color, so we're going to be making it like a nice golden, but also canceling some of the yellow tones out, but it's going to be nice and beachy. Definitely subscribe to my channel, especially if you guys want to see more color videos in the future. I already have a couple of blonde balayage tutorials on my channel, so definitely check those out if you want to. I'll link them below. And definitely follow me on Instagram. It's at Maxine Glynn, and I always post all of my formulas on my posts. And yeah, I'm going to tell you in this video what I lightened it with, what I tone her hair with the color melt. But if you want the written out formula, definitely check out my Instagram. Definitely give this video a big thumbs up if you like these types of videos, and leave any comments or questions that you have in the comment section below, and I will definitely answer as many as I can. And yeah, so if you want to see me take my client and freshen up her balayage and make her nice and blonde and dimensional, then definitely keep watching. And I already have mixed up here Matrix Light Master, and I mixed 20 volume and 30 volume together to give like a 25 volume, because I wanted to definitely get nice and light, and I don't want to have to, fight through the warm tones that are in her hair naturally with the 20 volume, so I added like a little 30 volume in there. And yeah, so I really like Light Master. I just feel like it tones the hair also a little bit as it's processing. And I like the consistency medium. I don't like it to be too runny, but I also definitely don't like it to be too thick either, because I don't want it to dry out in the foil. If it's too thick, I feel like that happens. But if it's too runny, I feel like you can get blotchiness and spots and things like that. So I like the medium consistency. And I'm just starting off by parting my client's hair where they like to part their hair. So if they like to only part the hair on the side, then I would do this on the side. But she likes to part it in the middle, so we have a middle part going. And if you put the hair parted in the middle, then they can really just go either way with their hair. So it kind of just works out better that way. And then starting from the crown and drawing a line down to the back of the ear, I section off the sides and I clip it out of the way to start working on the back of the head. The first foil that I'm going to be balayaging, or the first slice of hair that I'm going to be balayaging and then putting into a foil, is going to be by the nape of the neck. And this is for a lot of different reasons, because I feel like it's good to start by the nape so that this is the very first section that's going to be finished processing. And when you want to rinse it off, you can just lay your client comfortably back in the sink, and then that way they don't have to be uncomfortable when you're trying to rinse and stuff. So I like to just start in the nape, and I'm clipping all of this hair out of the way. And I'm going to start off my first slice. I'm just taking a slice, and I want the slice to not be too thick, because I definitely want to saturate this really good. So I would say about 1/4 to 1/2 inch thick of a slice. It just depends on how thin their hair is. And I like to start off by saturating really well the ends of the hair. And I basically just decide how high up I want the ends to be blonded. So this is the middle of the strand. I want not just the tips to be blonde, but I want the middle of the strand to be blonde too. I want a lot of blonde going on here, and I want the dimension to be concentrated kind of towards the roots, and that's why starting halfway down the strand, I saturate all of the ends. And once I have the ends saturated, if I'm working on extra long hair or long hair in any way, I just kind of fold the ends up and hold them in my hand while I'm painting the V. And then I'm feathering up where the top of that V section is, because I want this to be very blended. And I'm also blending up this middle part of the V also, kind of making a little bit of a W, or just so that it's dimensional but not too dark in the middle. I definitely want the blend to be nice, so the color melt works out the rest of the fading. But yeah, I like to kind of start off by painting my V out, and then I back comb the color brush up like I'm doing here, back combing it, and that really just helps to kind of smooth everything. And when the lightener is like a medium consistency, it really blends super nice. And then you saw like I kind of just took any excess lightener off of my hand to blend out this underneath part here. And I want the underneath part to be nice and blended too. Like never forget to pick up the hair like this and feather out this underneath. That way you won't have to worry about any weird like blotches or lines in the hair. And then once I do the underneath, I like to just kind of check on the top part, make sure there's no random spots that, got messed up when I was doing the underneath. And then I like to take a foil and put it on the bottom part and stick the ends to the foil. And this is the part where I'll wipe off my gloves because I don't want, the foils to have lightener all over them. I don't want any of this slices that I leave out of the foil to get like touched by, lightener and stuff. So I wipe off my hands and then I sandwich a clean foil over the top, and yeah, just make sure that it's all nice and in the foil. I don't really want any lightener to be sticking out or anything. And if my slice ended up being a bit too wide, I really don't mind because I will usually put like a foil horizontally like I did here. I put a foil underneath and on top horizontally. That way I don't have to worry about like how big the section is. So yeah, you never want the lightener to be like sticking out of the foil because that's how you accidentally get like bleeding and spots and stuff. So just make sure everything stays nice and clean and you'll be good, So I'm taking down about a 1/2 inch and I want like a lot of dimension to be left in this hair. So definitely like a 1/2 inch is pretty good. And then the slice that you want to balayage is about a 1/4 inch. And the section on the nape of the head is less wide than as you get like to this top middle part of the head. Like it's a bit wider here, so I usually slice 2 pieces next to each other here. So this is the left slice, this is the left side of the head on the back, and I'm just doing the same exact pattern, doing the entire like half of the strand, saturating the ends really well, and then folding up the ends into my hand while I paint the V. And after I paint the V, I feather up like with the brush. I back comb and make sure everything's nice and blended. And so that's the left slice, and then the next piece will be the right slice here, and then I'll move on and keep going up the head. Another reason why I wanted to paint this high up is because of course I'm keeping the dimensions still in the hair, but you see like the previous foil lines. I just wanted to erase any previous foil lines, and of course the color melt would take care of the previous foil lines and cover them, but still like when the color fades, like after a while maybe they need another refresh, you know what I mean? I don't want like as the glaze to fade any like harsh kind of foil lines popping through, so I do like to feather over any existing foil lines. And yeah, that will kind of just take care of the fading, and it helps this color last like really long because like especially if they're a college student and they don't know if they're going to be back to you until the next break and things like that, like you don't want to have to worry about it fading and being like weird and growing out weird. So I don't know, I like to erase the foil lines and feather over them. And now I'm just going to be continuing this exact same pattern all the way up to the very top of the crown and finishing off the back section with the same pattern. I'm going to be doing the 2 balayage slices like of the V pattern next to each other and just keep continuing that all the way up. So skipping all this hair in between each balayage section is going to leave so much like shadow and dimension in the hair. And also I'm doing this V like this close to the roots. It's still far enough away from the roots that I'm leaving a lot of dark even on the section that I'm balayaging. And I don't always do this, but I really wanted to put a picture on the screen so you guys can see like what the goal is here. It's a very like beachy type of a golden color. It's not too overwhelming of a gold. It's still kind of like that neutral tone. But I definitely wanted to show you how we are blonding a lot. Like this before picture, the before video, you can see how dark like the roots are and how dull like of a blonde the ends are. So this, type of a balayage pattern really does help to like add a lot of dimension or keep a lot of dimension in the hair, but also at the same time it like really blondes the hair a lot. If you don't leave enough dark, you're not going to have enough like dimension. It's going to be too blonde if you want a dimensional blonde. Obviously, if you don't want as much of a dimensional blonde, then you want to really feather closer up to the root. Maybe you don't want to leave out as much hair in the middle in between each highlight. You want to maybe do these highlights closer together. But in this case, we wanted to leave like this dimension. It also helps this maintenance, like as the hair grows out, it lasts a lot longer for the client because if it's a lot more blonde, then it's going to grow out a lot rootier. So I just wanted to kind of show you, how much of a difference like this before and after is and how much we are actually blonding the hair. And like I said before, I find like a really nice trick when you're balayaging long hair like this is after I saturate the ends with the lightener, I fold up all of the ends into my hand and I hold it in my hand like while I'm painting the rest of it. I just feel like it's so much nicer and like neater that the ends aren't like flapping all around with lightener on them and stuff, especially because I balayage like the opposite way. I don't think you need to do this if you're starting your balayage like pattern on the very top and then saturating the ends and then finishing it into the foil or just laying it down. But since I'm like I'm doing the opposite. I'm like saturating the ends completely, first, and then I don't want it to just be flapping around and being all messy and stuff. So I like to bunch it up and hold it in my hand, and I just feel like it keeps it nice and neat. Anyway. And I already did the other side of the face frame, but that's hard to see in the camera because I have to turn them. So this is the side that I like to show because it's really, facing the camera. But I like to take like around where the sideburn area and the temple meet. And I like to feather up the lightener like on the top, on the front, and underneath, but the whole like face frame, like hairline, I really like to get that feathered with the lightener so that it looks like the sun naturally lightened it, and it just makes it so that when they pull their hair back, they really see like the brightness around their face. really like to use foils when I do my balayages so that I have more control over the lifting, because it definitely creates a nice amount of heat inside of the foil. And if I at some point have to put my client under heat, then it definitely helps with the control of the heat and everything. And it just keeps everything nice and neat and controlled. And at this point, as I'm getting closer to the top of the head, the section is widening a bit, but that's fine, because if I need to add like a horizontal foil to help make sure that the lightener stays nicely inside the foil, even though it might not fit like the foil vertically, a horizontal foil will just help that, you know what I mean? So I just take the entire section in one shot like this, and I just do the same pattern, feathering it up around the hairline really well and adding in that nice strand like in the very front where the face frame is. At this point, when I'm like closer to the top of the head like I am here, when I start like painting the very front hairline, I definitely like to do like a thicker like stripe in the front where the face frame is. Making sure like adding a thicker stripe in the front will definitely help for like a bolder face frame, so that you really see it's not like a color block bang or anything like that, because it's definitely blended into the rest of the highlights, but it makes for a bolder face frame, so you can really see like that like stripe of blonde in the very front. Okay, so I finished applying the entire balayage, and I'm just checking the back section to see how it's lifting and to see if I want to put her under heat or not. And you can see if it's lifting really, really nice. It's like a nice golden, but I definitely want to break through more of those orangey golden tones so that we don't have any like brass or anything. So I'm definitely going to be putting her under the dryer. But it's just nice to see like how it's processing. So it's always good to check, because sometimes the client's like back section is almost near done and you know like, okay, I have to rinse the back soon. But in my client's case, I definitely want to let her process more to cut through some of those like darker golden tones. Like we don't want any orange, you know what I mean? So I'm popping her underneath the dryer, and you can see this very top horizontal foil that I put. I'm covering like the top section of her head so that none of the air from the dryer like pushes its way into the foils from the top, because I don't want any lightener in the foils to dry out. So I just wanted to point that out. I use that top foil to prevent any air pushing down. But yeah, popping her under the dryer, I check in about 10 minutes. And even if you feel like your client's hair is very strong, it's still always a good idea to check them, especially if you're putting under the heat. Like you want to check at least 5-10 minutes so that you make sure there's no breakage or anything. I know there's a lot of controversies around putting lightener under heat, but honestly, I feel like it's a very necessary tool to use in the salon, especially when you want to cut through this brass and, you know, actually give the client like the color they want. So, but you have to, you know, use a lot of caution. So if you're just starting out with color using heat, use it with such caution, or maybe not use it at all at first. But yeah, like I usually pop them under the dryer for 10 minutes if I feel like their hair can handle it, and definitely check it all the time. And I feel like this color looks pretty perfect, like a pale golden. So I'm taking all the foils out and giving her a really good rinse at the sink. And now I walked her back to the dryer, and I'm popping her back underneath the dryer for about 15 more minutes. And while she's processing underneath the dryer, I'm going to be mixing up the color melt, which is the Glaze formula. And this is going to be canceling any like leftover golden, but also I'm not completely canceling it because we like these golden tones. It keeps it nice and beachy. So I'm going to be pairing it with neutral. So for the root formula, for the Glaze, the color melt, I'm going to be mixing up 8 neutral and 8 violet. And this is Matrix Color Sync. This is a demi permanent, and I'm mixing it equal parts with 10 volume. And the formula for the ends is 1 ounce of 10N, 1 ounce of 10V, and 1 ounce of clear. So like I said, the neutral keeps like that sandy tone, and the violet is what cancels any of the leftover yellow or golden. I'm using a level 8 for my formula for the roots because I want this to process on her hair close to a level 7, and her natural color is about a level 6. So I want this to be like a touch lighter than her natural color, but way darker than the ends, because I want that nice fade to happen. And the formula on the ends, I mixed level 10 with clear, and I added the clear into the level 10 to make it closer like a level 11, because I really want this to tone her hair to a level 10. If I just use a level 10, it's going to tone her ends to a level 9, so I don't want it darkened like that. I want it to stay as light as possible. So adding the clear really helps to make sure it stays nice and translucent and, you know, light. And I add the Olaplex into both of the formulas to help maintain the strength of her hair, and just Olaplex is amazing, so I like to add it in as much as possible. And her hair is done processing now. I usually put the color melt formula over at my station and let that sit while I do the shampoo. And by the time I'm done mixing my color melt formulas, I put that over near my station, and my client is now done and ready to be rinsed and washed. And I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like when I take it out of the foil. It's definitely like a light golden, so the toner is going to take care of toning this and making this like a nice pretty color of a blonde. And I always give a little bit of a warning to my clients, like I try to, and I just let them know that like this part is the in-between stage, and this like color melt is definitely going to help take care of any leftover harshness or any weird yellow tones, you know what I mean? So I give a little bit of a disclaimer, and I let them know that don't worry, like the toner is going to make everything a lot softer, and it's going to make the color very pretty. And yeah, so I'm just going to be painting this darker root formula onto the very roots. And you see how I'm only putting it like a ½ inch towards the hairline, but then in the back I'm dragging this quite a bit down. I'm showing like the angle, it's going up on an angle. And just all along the back part, you want to drag, at least when this color melt that I'm doing today, like I want to drag this down pretty far back over the crown, and just keep this like face frame pretty high up in the front. So I don't want to take this darker color and drag it down too much in the front, but I definitely want to drag it down in the back. And I use a little foil over on the other side just so that when I'm painting and throwing the piece over, it doesn't overlap and like start touching spots of the blonde that I don't want it to be. So it just adds a little bit of control so that I don't have to worry about my level 8 touching any of the pieces that I don't want the level 8 to touch, you know what I mean? And yeah, so I'm just going to go around and paint all of the roots on this color melt formula. And I know when I'm painting the crown here, like it's hard to see, so I'm going to show you guys like a quick little glimpse of what it looks like. When I'm painting like the crown from my angle, I'm dragging it as far to the very front of the hairline as I can. Obviously the foil is helping protect my color so that the hairline doesn't, you know, have to be dragged down too much, but I just wanted to show you how I am taking like this back crown section and painting it like all the way forward, like I'm over directing it over the top of the hair, so that it definitely gives like that nice halo effect and that darker formula dragged down quite a bit in the back. And once I'm done applying all of the roots, I take my wide tooth comb and I just very carefully start feathering this comb through that like line of demarcation, because I don't want to comb it all the way down because I don't want any of this dark color, like I said, to bleed onto the end. So I just very lightly comb over where that line is to get me ready for the next part of my formula. And obviously I'm going to be mixing the two colors together as I'm color melting this together, but this just kind of helps with the blending and the fading. And yeah, I just really like how it comes out when I comb it a bit, so that's what I'm doing. And once again, I'm adding a foil onto the other side just so that I don't have to worry about any colors not going where I want them to go. But I'm just adding my level 10 mixed with clear onto all of these ends. And I purposely like to mix the two colors together like a little bit as it's on the strand, because that's where you get like the color melting. You're melting the two colors together, and it makes for such a seamless color in the end, like with the fade going from dark to light. Yeah, so the color melt is all in this like toning part, and it just makes for such a pretty color, and I just love it, especially when you keep so much of the dimension in the hair. It looks so nice. And once I'm done finishing applying this glaze, I definitely want to figure out how long I'm going to let this sit for. But I can already see that it's toning the hair like perfectly, and I just finished applying it. So I'm really only going to let this sit on for about 5 minutes because I definitely don't want this to get too dark or anything. Sometimes every client's different. You know, sometimes I let them sit on for 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. But in this client's case, I let this only sit on for 5 minutes because like I didn't want this to get too dark or anything, like I said. But this is what it looks like when I'm ready to rinse it off. You can see that it toned it perfectly, and we don't need, you know, to fix what's not broken because if you leave it on for too long, there's really no turning back if it got too dark. And I know my client wanted to leave this as light as possible, so I can see through the color that the tone is perfect and it's ready to be washed. I washed it with Matrix Keep Me Vivid Color Treated Shampoo, and I conditioned it with Matrix Balayage Detangling Solution. I really love how hydrating that is. So yeah, I washed it, conditioned it, brought her back to my station, and now I'm ready to style it. And I really love styling the very front piece first, like where the face frame is, because me and my client, you know, we've been at this for a couple of hours now, and we just really want to see how it turned out. I really love seeing how the color turned out right off the bat, and the placement and the blending and everything. So I really love to style the very front piece of the hair first to really show the big reveal right away, because we both want to see it. And this is like my favorite part. I really love doing everything. I love balayaging and color melting. Like there's so much, like I love all of that. But I really, really love the big reveal. It's really fun to see it all like turn out, you know? And also I really love adding beach waves into my client's hair. I feel like it brings out the shine and really shows the style. But I really love to show them that like you could wear your hair straight too, the way that we did the balayage. You can wear it straight and you don't have to worry about any harsh lines or any like weird like ways that it's going to grow out, you know, like you don't have to worry about like curling your hair to like hide any lines. So I just like to point that out, that they could definitely wear it straight, but adding the beach waves in is just like a lot of fun, especially for pictures and stuff. So yeah, I don't want them to feel like they have to curl it, you know. But yeah, it's just fun, and I love like beachy hair, so beach waves, I'm all about that. I like to let it cool for a second, and then I go in with some kind of a serum. I always switch up my serums, but there's definitely like a couple that I really love. Paul Mitchell, Chi, Matrix. I love all those serums. So yeah, I like to just break it up with my fingers to really show like the beach waves come out, and the serum really helps add that shine, and also just helps to have them leave with like that nice salon finish. Okay, so this is the blonde dimensional balayage all complete. Thank you so much for watching this whole video, and if you made it to the end like this, you're definitely a real one and you're amazing, so hell yeah to you. And subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Definitely don't forget to subscribe, especially if you like more color videos and hair tutorials and things like that. Definitely give this video a thumbs up, especially if you want to see more blonde balayages or any type of balayages. I have a lot more coming. Follow me on Instagram. It's at Maxine Glynn, and I always write out my formulas on my posts so you guys can reference like a written out formula. So definitely check out my Instagram for that, at Maxine Glynn. I will leave that linked in the description box below. Definitely leave any comments or questions that you have down in the comment section. I love to hear from you guys. Seriously, it makes my day. And yeah, I will definitely give out some more advice in the comment sections, and I also have some Q&A videos coming soon. There's a handful of videos. I have just like tons of questions on them, so I'm going to be doing some dedicated Q&A videos soon. And yeah, so I really appreciate you watching. If you feel like this balayage video helped you, definitely like this video and share it with anybody that you feel like it could help. Like if you know somebody in cosmetology school, or if you have a friend or something, definitely share this video with anybody you think it could help. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.
So give me your all. I'll take it to Mars. Oh, I'll stick like glue inside your mind. Just watch me breathe.